Hello, everyone. I am Steve Peterson.
And I am Jack Hinkle.
Welcome back to Chops Podcast, where we talk about the trifecta. Know your students, know your content, know your teaching.
And love your students, love your content, and love your teaching. Hey, it's still hot outside, dude.
It is.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we stayed inside yesterday. We stayed inside. 95?
95 temp.
95 temp. That was intense. Yeah.
And I think it got up to triple digits with heat index.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was in Texas over the weekend, and I did see for maybe the first time in my life, the weather, not the first time in my life, but in a while, that the weather would triple digits. It was like 100 degrees.
Wow.
Faux real.
Yeah, but it wasn't bad because it was dry heat, right?
That's what they say. It's a lie. It's still
Right.
it's still
It's
hot.
still hot.
Yeah, so coming back to Indiana, it was like, oh, it's it's still hot. So
It's still hot.
yeah, but we are this is like our third week, second
weekend?
full week, third week of the school year, and things are moving along.
Yep, they are.
Your sleep schedule, are you like adjusted now?
No. Well, I went to bed really early last night. 9.
Yes.
Because we didn't have anything. I was
Yeah.
really tired. And
Yeah.
So, but then, we have rehearsal till 9 tonight. So it feels, it's hard to go to bed at 9. when
Yeah,
you're
when
at school
you're
at
at school at 9.
Right. But
Yeah,
waking
drive
up
home
at
could be unsafe.
6:15. What time are you waking up?
6. Yep, got that coffee programmed. Oh, we're back. So Steve, here's what a lot of teachers are trying to do this week. There's probably a lot of things they're trying to do. One of the things they've been trying to do recently is probably get the culture of their class the way they want it,
Right.
right? And for each teacher, that looks different,
Yeah.
as it should,
Yeah.
because every teacher wants different things, right?
Yeah.
So some may be trying to get their classes to sit down, sit up, and
Be
be quiet, right? But some teachers
Want their classes.
to be loud,
Yep.
rambunctious, and social.
Yes.
And is there a right answer?
No, I think it's up to what is most authentic to the teacher.
Yes. Steve gives a handout. He gave a handout to our concert band like since I started teaching here, and it says on there, a quiet rehearsal does not mean a good rehearsal. And you are very intentional about revisiting that line with your kids. And you always say, what do you think that means? So when you wrote that in there, what were you trying to address with your kids?
I was thinking about the students that you have in class that are just very quiet, but they're quiet just because they're zoning out and thinking about other things. And they're not really participating either verbally, or they're just not participating by listening and kind of engaging what's going on.
Wait, what?
Exactly.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Right?
Yeah. And the flip side of that, of course, is true. Just because there's a talkative rehearsal doesn't always mean a good rehearsal either. Or a talkative rehearsal doesn't always mean a bad rehearsal.
No, it doesn't.
Right? So I do think that stuff is interesting because I would say, this may be a hot take, I would say the default high schooler, the average high schooler, is quiet.
In class.
In class.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Like, it's not very hard to just have the kids literally not say a word the entire class. In fact, some kids would prefer that. They could be silent the entire class. Right? I would say for junior high, that may not be true. Right. And especially elementary may not be true. But for some reason, that when you get to the high school, it's just everyone's kind of mellow.
Right. Unless you got a group of kids that are like really good friends.
Yes. And if you're in a class like your jazz band, where some of those kids have been in there 2, 3, 4 years and they come back, that's probably more of a talkative group rather than a, freshman English class or an art class where there's all people new and they're coming in and they don't know each other. The default would be quiet.
Yes.
So there's an old phrase, actually this isn't really a phrase because I only say it sarcastically, that there's no smiling in school. School is not fun.
Mm-hmm.
You say it's like prison because there's no windows. You eat institutionalized food.
You have to scan to get in. You are dismissed by a bell. You have to ask to go to the bathroom.
No freedom.
Right.
Yeah. And I think we say the no smiling in school pretty sarcastically, but You know, some teachers, and myself included, I have spent the last week or two trying to break, I'm using air quotes, break my classes, but mostly to get them to speak more. And be more engaged with each other.
Isn't that interesting?
I think it, and there are probably some junior high teachers listening be like, will you stop? They're like, no, we need, like, my class will not stop. And I was like, no, some of my classes were very quiet on the first day of school and the second day and the third day. And I've really been working to get those students to be a little more talkative. And I'm more talkative. And sometimes that's through like question of the day. Sometimes it's through the content. Sometimes that's through just like talking to individual kids.
Right. And
building that culture to make it feel more collaborative's like a big word, but just a little more friendly and social. Because I think that's okay as long as you're getting your content taught and things are being learned.
Right.
What about, well, you're not teaching as much anymore.
Nope.
What'd you do? I'm sure you did something in jazz band, a little something social. Get the kids talking, get them
working. Oh, the first day?
Something, sure.
Oh, what did we do the first? I took a lead from you. I don't think you knew I knew this. I took this, but the first day of Jazz 1, we had a number of handouts to do and things to put in the folder, like five things or something like that. And they were like all like in the room in different like little islands. I called them the Hawaiian Islands. And then I said, then I handed out cards to them that had an animal on it, and then they had a card that matched with them, but they got in the perimeter of the room, and then they had to only use the sound of the animal to find their matcher, right? And then once they found their matcher, and then they had to make sure that each buddy had all the supplies.
How'd that go?
It was pretty funny for about 10 seconds. And then they found each other, and then it was just like class as normal. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I heard you say that about you had read somebody did that.
Yeah.
You know,
that is awesome.
So they did that. We still do question of the day.
Yep. You do it every day?
No,
Okay.
I do optional.
Okay.
I usually start with some monologue, some random story.
You?
Yeah.
Well, all you do is tell stories.
All I do is tell stories. But yeah, I tell some stories. But then, but even with that crew, I mean, that's a totally new band. I mean, not totally, but a lot of them new, and just. I think the thing that's interesting is that when you have a class full of students, and then you get the culture going of people wanting to talk, it takes some discipline not to let the same three people lead it all the time.
Discipline from you or discipline from them?
From me.
Mm.
And you and I have our little tricks about to stir it up, and because we'll say, okay, raise your hand if you know the answer to number 3. Okay, 2 people's hands go up. Okay, raise your hand. Everybody raise your hand, so at least it looks like everybody's going to answer it, right?
And then you call on the kid that has his hand raised, and he's like, "Oh, you just told me to raise my hand."
Yeah,
and you're like,
yeah, exactly. So, but today I did say, can we have more than student 1, student 2, and student 3 talking? Can we get more people like engaged? And trying to get people on the the ends and the middles
Yes.
and the tops and the bottoms and the
Yes, Steve started doing this probably 2 years ago, but I'm sure it was earlier. But he would say, "Can we get," like he'd ask a question, like 3 hands would raise, and then he'd say, "Can we get the leaders in the room to get more hands up?"
yeah.
And you're like, "Okay, great, we got 4 out of a class of 30. Great,
Yeah,
that's like
yeah.
6%. Okay,
yeah,
okay." And then
yeah.
like 3 more hands. Okay, we're at
Yeah,
10.
yeah.
Okay, trumpets are the
Yeah.
trumpets are on strike. The saxophones are the great children.
Right,
Okay,
right,
now we
right,
got a
yeah.
trumpet. And he'll do that for like 10 minutes and then get more hands up. And yeah, I guess that's kind of like cheating the system, but the kids usually are smiling and laughing like when you're doing that.
Right.
And then you call on the kid who didn't who didn't put his hand up at first, but usually that kid has a good answer.
They
you
do.
know. I've been here's a good question today. I'm sure I got this one from you too, but I did this in music theory today. I said, what do you wish you could add to Elkhart? And
that's an interesting way to put it.
yeah, so like store, restaurant, etc.
Mhm.
And kids say like the typical ones, Chick-fil-A, that one always shows up,
Yeah.
Raising Cane's,
Yeah.
a new mall, and then kid raised his hands and said better roads with less potholes, and everyone was like, yeah. But then they kind of started
this
feeding
piano?
off it. theory.
Okay.
And they started feeding off each other a
Okay.
bit with that, which was kind of fun. So that was a good one. And then one thing I've been doing a lot in jazz that I've really, really been trying to work on, I'm trying to get more kids playing solos like all the time.
Yep. I hear it.
Like every day I'm trying to get kids playing solos. Yeah, partly for the musical integrity of it, but mostly for like the culture of it.
Yeah.
I want kids to feel safe when they improvise and make up a solo on the fly in front of their classmates, and I'm trying really hard that like the first thing after they're done playing is say, "Okay, hands up, who's got compliments, things you liked."
Yeah, there you go.
And I think the kids are more apt to take care of each other and say the compliments because they care about each other and they want to make sure that people don't feel bad, and they'll jump in there with that kind of stuff, and then that kind of feeds itself. And so we've been getting more people in, and like with jazz too, a lot of those guys are returning, and we kind of have the frequent flyers of solos from the previous year. But we're getting a couple newcomers in there, and then Jazz 3, pretty much every human in there is new.
Gotcha.
So it's like even playing field, and there are like 6 or 7 or 8 hands every day, and we're starting to get some frequent flyers, which is good, but still like different people jumping in there too. So trying to build up like safety, but also it's safe to take risks.
Yeah. It makes sense. I wondered if you are all the soloists volunteers, or any of them like required? Hostages versus volunteers.
Sometimes there's like slight, I don't want to say guilt trip, but like maybe close. There's some kids in there that I think would just do a really good job soloing, and they haven't put their hand up yet. And sometimes I'll say, like we really want, like a saxophone, specifically a tenor.
Yeah.
Playing first tenor, and then there's like one kid that plays first tenor, and sometimes they'll bite, sometimes they won't. I really don't want to take a hostage to solo.
Yeah, because that kind of sends the wrong message.
Yeah, and I've talked about that. Like not every kid needs to do that, but just the idea that it's safe and that your classmates are taking care of you and working toward the smile, like working toward the happiness, even if you don't play the best that you did.
Right.
Like it's safety. You got kids saying, "Here's what I really liked about your solo," because everyone has something that they play that kids will like.
Yes,
and the kids are good at finding those moments.
That's true. Then it does. I like what you said, just like creating that culture that they feel comfortable to do that, and it's not just about the musicality, but it's about the intentionality of the culture of the group.
Yes. The other thing I've been working on, and this goes back to like our overall theme of smiling in school, because there is smiling allowed in school.
Yes,
that's what they told me when I went to professional development. Is that I've been really, this is a jazz specific thing, but I've tried to get kids to make more noise, like not with their voice.
Yeah.
And you were in the room when I was talking to them about it. Like,
yeah,
especially in jazz band, like when kids are playing solos, like it's okay to go, yeah, what up? Oh yeah. Like you, and like build each other up during the solo. Like if they were doing that in concert band or marching band, that would not be okay. That would not be okay. But in jazz band, it's okay. And to build up that culture is good too, and making them a little more loud and like engaged with each other.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm driving the ship with that. And I like the kids will make fun of me because of the noises I make.
Yeah.
Based on what they play. And I know you do that stuff too, because I hear you teach.
Right.
And like that is something that you and I don't control. But like I'm wanting to help them release the inhibitions of being quiet and respectful.
Yes.
Because in jazz, it's like it's respectful to be loud when you hear something good.
It's more disrespectful to be totally sitting on your hands.
Yes. And I know that's like a jazz specific thing, but like just helping them help each other, And there was even a moment today in music theory. We're doing, this was painful today. This was 4-clef rapid fire.
Okay. Treble, bass, alto.
And the one we shall not name called tenor. And the kids, I was asking kids, I was doing the like musictheory.net thing just on the screen. So before each one, I'd ask the kids if they think they have good luck or not. Because some of them will have like a G like right in the middle of the staff, and the other ones will get like 3 ledger lines on alto clef or whatever.
Right.
So it was kind of fun just seeing like who got what or who got what note. But there were some kids that were like taking a long time in a good way to make sure they were accurate and making sure they knew which note it was.
Okay.
And there were kids like you got it, you got it, kind of helping them out with that, which I thought was kind of cool, especially with the music theory class where those kids are all new and don't know each other.
Gotcha.
Compared to jazz band where they're like returning students. So I've been trying to get my classes to be a little more loud this week. That's been my goal.
Well, you'd be happy to know that you were gone when you were gone on Monday and you had a sub. My office is right above the band room, and Jazz 2 was really cheering each other on.
That's good. That's good.
They did a great job of that.
That's good. And that class is at 8:20 in the morning, so they may not always be caffeinated at that time.
Exactly.
Good. Good. Yeah, man. Getting them loud. Getting them loud when they talk to each other. And then flipping the switch when they need to. Right?
Yeah. And then that will become more normal or more automatic as the year goes on. And then as you perform, like in the winter and the spring, that will not be as forced.
So can you think of classes that you've had in your past, any class in your years of teaching, that were like either really quiet or like really loud? And it could be a class like really quiet that was like really productive, really class that was like lame, or a quiet class that was lame, a really loud class that was really productive, or a really loud class that was lame.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could think of all four.
Mm-hmm.
But is there one that like sticks out to you in one of those quadrants?
Yeah, like one of my early jazz bands here at Concord, like in around 2000, probably the best band I ever had was this loud. They never shut up. They were just spaz-a-taz.
Was that the one you recorded, Ellington?
No, that was like a few. That was no.
Okay.
So it was my second year, and they were loud.
Okay.
And they were goofballs, but they were like super smart, and they were like super good. And there was like a lot of kids that could play in there, and it was just kind of loud. And I don't think I always knew what was going on.
Like musically, socially.
So I didn't know how to ride that, but I knew like when they played really, really well, but I didn't. It wasn't always controlled. Yeah, that wasn't good. Yeah. I mean, but looking back on it, I guess I didn't even know what I was doing. But
wait, when you say controlled, are you talking musically or like classroom management?
Classroom management. It was a little loosey goosey. Yeah. But they were like automatic.
But they could play.
They could play.
So it was okay.
Yeah. But there were like a lot of goofballs in there.
Okay.
But smart goofballs and really talented goofballs. But
that sounds like jazz band.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Okay.
So and then I had, I don't know when it was. Maybe it was like, might have been like the year after the pandemic, like the year after, like the first full year of regular school. 21, 22.
Dark times.
Right? 21 to 22.
Dark time. Yeah, that was first full year back.
So I had a class, maybe it was then, that never talked in piano.
Yeah.
And I did break character several times and got on their case about that.
And what did you say to him?
I acted like I was mad, but I wasn't. But I just said, like, I'm up here like acting like a idiot, like trying to get you guys to talk and laugh and play your instruments and stuff, and like nobody is like taking the bait like ever. But I was like, this is boring. Like you guys, this is like lame. And I just kind of vented my frustration with them. And I mean, once in a while somebody would speak up, but not much. And then that was the class that like there was a boy in there that never talked. And I'm not sure if he wore a mask, but that's the class that like the last day of school I found a letter in my desk.
Oh yeah.
And he left it on the piano, and it was an envelope, and it said Mr. Peterson, and it was this boy who never did talk, and he said, "Thank you for making us talk, and like for talking to us, and I'm just really shy, and sometimes it's really hard for me to do that, and I'm sorry if I disappointed you." But I was like, oh boy, I wasn't trying to get the disappointment.
Well, it is interesting because I think, depending on the teacher's personality type, if you have a class like that where they don't talk and all they're doing is kind of like the content, there's work. Some teachers go, "Oh, this is great.
Yeah,
this is easy." And maybe for some teachers that like works really well, but I would not feel like I'm growing the kids.
Right.
And I would want to do more. Yeah. Those were different times right after COVID. Those were different times.
They were. Yeah, so that would be 2 instances. Like, I don't even remember how well that piano class played. I just remember they didn't talk.
Yeah.
But then I can remember, like, right around, it might have been the same year, like a different semester, I just had a group of Sunshine that, like, every Friday they brought in desserts. And it was like every time I did the write on, the board and did all this stuff. Yeah. Every time we wrote on the board, and like it was like always funny stuff, and we just had this whole like litany of like writing stuff on the whiteboard that was really funny, and they did play well, but it doesn't take much to move the barometer.
No. And any movement is good. Mm-hmm. Any movement is good. I didn't know what I was getting into with this piano class that I have coming in this semester, because it's not a ton of kids. It's like maybe like 12.
Yeah.
And a lot of them I didn't know. And like normally my piano classes, I like know a lot of kids because they're usually like band or orchestra choir kids that just come in and take the class. But this one had a lot of new kids. And I was really fortunate that like there are some kids in there that are like, I throw out my dumb jokes and they're like with me like right away.
Really?
Yes, I was like so happy about that. And we found out, like Power School tells you the birthdays, right? So we noticed that 2 kids shared a birthday in that class. And one of the kids just brought in a cake.
Nice.
Like just the day of. And that was like just because of that kid, because nice. She was just kind of who she is, and that's what she wanted to do, which was great. And then, so we've had that class going for a little bit, and they're talking to each other. And you always joked with them that we'd have a recital coming up, and like we're playing at Martin's, okay, so the piano's over, and then we got a new student yesterday, and they totally like took the bait when that new kid walked in, because I was talking to the new kid and I was like, hey, just so you know, our first performance is Friday, and I'm just totally like making this all up.
Yeah.
Like first performance is Friday, we're gonna be at Martin's upstairs, so make sure you got your ride. You're gonna wheel your piano over, and then I talked to like there were like 2 girls that I don't really know well, but they were like totally with me on the jokes, and I was like, okay, and like. Piano 11, like, what's our pay rate? And she's like, oh, every kid's getting $200. I was like, great. And I said, okay, piano 14, you got the dry cleaning all set up, ready to go? She's like, yep, already called them. And they're like right with it.
Right.
And even the kid up here, like, he knew I was messing around, which was good because sometimes the kids don't know that.
Right.
So just like trying to get that kind of culture going too, where it's like it's okay to talk to me as a human and joke with me as a human, because I don't want to do my job if you don't. Our job is not nearly as fun if you don't talk to us like humans. Right. Totally different.
That's cool.
Totally
That's good
different.
that they're into it, and that boy kind of got caught up in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that dude was playing straight ahead with that first song in the book after like 5 minutes. So
there you go.
He's AP piano class, dude. We're locked in. We are locked in.
Yeah, I went there. There's some nice kids.
Oh, yeah, you walked in today. You were out of there quick. I thought you were going to throw some zingers. Another day.
Yep.
Doing your walk-ins.
I do my drive-bys. See what's going on.
Yeah. So have you had loud class? You've had to have loud classes that did not succeed, or quiet classes that did succeed.
Yeah.
My student teaching in rock and roll history,
mm-hmm.
that was loud and unsuccessful, but that was a reflection of my experience or lack of experience and lack of skills as a teacher. But I had a hard time calming them down.
And that's what the Hinkles down. That's where that
Hinkles down.
Hinkles down, right? You came back from that one.
Dark times. Yeah, that was that one. That was that one.
Yeah, I think the like early on when I taught in Kentucky and I taught that music appreciation class.
Yes.
Music appreciation.
Music appreciation.
Yeah, depreciation. Taught that one, and that was chatty, and I was trying to just go by the book, and it was loud, and not too many people learned anything, and it was not successful. That was bad. And they really have the skills or the whereabouts to deal with that. of kids that just like showed up for this music class that just kind of got dumped in there. Have you ever done silent classes?
Like truly silent, including myself?
Yeah.
No, but you've talked to me about that and said
Yeah,
that
I did that a few times, like
with your beginners.
Yeah.
The young'uns.
The young'uns, and just like trying to do something different, and just like kind of like I play, you play, we play kind of thing, or I play, we play, you play. Just that idea that trying to communicate, because when you don't talk, it takes a lot more focused attention to all do the same thing.
Yes. Well, and given now, our school has a heavy Spanish-speaking population to it, and I know you and I both had students in specifically piano class that speak zero English, and a lot of that is that, right? And like just going up to the piano and showing them, and then they do it back, and you don't really need words.
You don't need to.
Especially with that camera that we had going on in there, they could just see the hands on the screen.
Right.
Yes. No, but I could imagine the success, like if you pull that out every so often with like a beginning, like a 12-year-old, grade 6 kind of thing, they would dig that.
Right. It's kind of interesting thinking about the I do, we do, you do kind of stuff. I know I do this and you do this too, but we both teach with our instruments in our hand. And we talk very rarely about style. Like, we don't always articulate in English like what we're doing to the notes.
Right.
But it's just kind of like, okay, I play, you play again, I play. We just keep on doing that. And then we will talk, like, how do I sound different than you?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How do I sound different than you? And then sometimes they're not able to always articulate like what it is
with English.
Right.
But then they play.
Right. They can play, but I can say, what's the difference between like you and me or me and you? What is the difference? And like today they got in like, well, you're like more soulful. I'm like, well, what does that mean?
Right.
You play with bigger air. What's that mean? Like, what am I doing that's making it soulful?
Yes. Yes. I've been working on that with my kids too, because they want to say, like, you're playing with more like stank, like that's the word I've been using. And I was like, okay, but like musically, what is that? Well, you're bending your pitch down and back. Okay, like I can work with that.
Right.
Good. That's like tangible. That's music. But sometimes the English words get in the way compared to the music.
Yes.
And it's much easier to just play back and play and listen and go on from there than speak about it.
Yes, it helps them decide, helps them to make the choices of what it is. Now that was kind of interesting. Like why, what is it that makes it soulful? We're kind of getting off on a tangent here, but talking about that and then like being able to demonstrate it, but then also being able to articulate what that was.
Okay, back to the loud versus quiet. Okay, I know we have people on here that teach marching band because they found us from TikTok. But if you're a marching band teacher, you're a staff person, a director, a tech, I want to know your opinion on talking in rehearsals from the students. I want to know because I think there are a lot of successful schools where the kids don't say a peep. It's everything is said from the staff. The kids just are locked in on their own thing. They're doing everything for themselves and they get better. I also know that there are very successful programs where the kids are talking all the time and they're trying to help each other out, and you have student leaders on the field talking in between every rehearsal, every drill set, and helping each other. So marching band directors out there, marching band staff, marching band techs, tell us your thoughts. Like, tell us your thoughts. Asking for a friend. It's Steve. No, it's me.
Yeah.
I want to know.
I think that's interesting.
I want to know because I think about that all the time, because I think when kids do talk on the field, I'm going to say about 80% of the time, they're trying to help each other, trying to get better. 20% of the time, they're just goofballs and they need to be quiet.
Right.
But they are trying to help. And I want to be more helpful to the kids. And I don't always know if that means I need to tell them to stop talking or if I need to give them time to talk.
Ooh, nice.
Because I don't think there's always a right answer. But I think that some schools are really locked into their culture of how to approach that. I think we're locked in too, and we do a little bit of both, but mostly we're very intentional about letting them know which is which.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think we do a good job of that.
Right.
But I'm just curious if some teachers out there are like all in on talking or all in on not talking.
Right.
I want to know.
Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody in the last month about that. Somebody in the marching arts, like our drill designer, and he was saying that he's been to the same thing you just said. Some bands that are very successful, that are quiet, not a peep, and then some that you would say there was chaos, but there wasn't chaos, but there was good stuff going on.
Right. And I guess it's just whatever you want as the leader of a program, but
right.
It's different because, like in a jazz band, and we've talked about this, like in a jazz band, the culture of jazz and like a jazz rehearsal, like it is a little more loose.
Yes.
But if you're teaching marching band, something that's based in the military,
right,
where the roots of it are based in the military,
you're outside and you're covering this big spread,
and to stay focused within the wind and the sun and the heat, I mean, you have to be locked in and quiet.
Right.
So I just think that binary is really interesting, and I want to kind of harness the best of the kids and give them as much as we can through my choices in letting them speak or letting them not. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, Steve.
I like it.
Yeah.
Jack's very intentional. You got that?
Very intentional.
Intentional. 2 perfect words.
I'm trying to think if I've had any like successful quiet classes that chose not to talk. I think there have been some years our concert band has been quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say they're a successful group. They always start out really quiet.
And then they get more comfortable with each other.
Yes. Well, the funny thing is, this is funny because every time we start concert band, it's always right after marching season. So the kids are sitting in their chairs and they put their horns up and you like play whatever. And then you're just talking to them like about the music and they're just like standing here like this.
Yeah. Then you get to the end of White Christmas and their horns are still up.
Their horns are still up. They're like above the stand, like level.
Yeah.
Like at the end of White Christmas, off and down.
Yeah.
And you're like guys,
no,
we're
building a snowman.
No. You're like, if you are at set and standby one more time, I'm going to throw up in my mouth. I told the trumpets in Jazz 3, the trumpets in Jazz 3 are at standby when they're standing back there. And I said, you guys, you don't have to be at stand. They're like, it's comfortable. I'm like, okay, just move on, Jack, move on. Just don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. Don't do it. Yeah, but back to this concert band thing. The kids typically that Steve and I taught are younger because we teach the youngest concert band. And they've kind of broken themselves out of kind of like the freshman thing where they're immature by the time they get to like January. Like they're high schoolers. They're full of high schoolers at that point. They're pretty good about quiet listening, attentiveness, etc. Right. But as the year goes on, I've always been impressed with how much the kids start to kind of drive the rehearsal.
How so?
I have vivid memories of the flutes. It's always the flutes every year. Yeah. They're just the smartest because they're whatever. But they keep raising their hands like when we get to like April or May, like around Isthmus time. And they're like, hey, can we go back and check this? I just want to make sure I'm breathing right with my neighbor. And I am like, God bless you. like you are so awesome. Yeah. And it's really cool to hear that stuff kind of come to fruition, that the teacher is not the only one in charge of the band getting better. It's like the kids start to take more ownership of that. And if every kid in the room was doing that, yes, it would be annoying and a problem. But I really want to welcome that as part of the culture. Like, how can you get upset at a kid saying, can we go back and look at this? I want to make sure I'm doing this right.
Yes.
And to that, to come from a freshman in a young band is really cool. And I wish that could start happening sooner, or at least get the kids in the mind frame of it. And I've been more intentional about in jazz band right now because we're not teaching concert band. But like after we play something, whether it's a small group or a big group, I'm always trying to ask people, like, what'd you hear? Like, what'd you hear about this person's style compared to this person? Are they breathing at the same time? Were they in tune? And, just making sure that the kids are engaged even when they're not playing. And I want the culture to not be like a gotcha, like, are you listening? Were you listening? But the culture to be didn't notice that before. Because if the kids are always listening to each other while they're playing, like having that as the default, that you're listening to your neighbor, you're listening to your band when you're not playing and when you are playing, that will make the band so much better.
Yes, they're listening, right, exactly.
And that transfers to, like, core classes too, right? Like
being attentive to what's going on and trying to be the teacher in the moment almost.
Yes. Because, I mean, we were doing the rapid-fire stuff today in music theory, and, like, while one kid is answering one interval, in theory, every kid is, like, playing along on their own. They're, like, trying to figure out the half steps or whatever, too. And just making sure that the culture is, I'm engaged, not because it's a gotcha from the teacher, but because I care about the culture of the class.
Right.
I just kind of got fired up.
I know, that was good. You should just put the whole thing out there in a reel.
You have to stop them at 60 seconds for YouTube.
60 seconds?
Yeah, or else it's not a short. It's like a real YouTube video.
Oh.
I know, man. It's so weird. Speaking of which, we have a lot of TikTokers hanging out with us now. Shout out to you, TikTokers. TikTokers, if you like what you hear, can you give us a review on Apple Podcasts? We're like running dry on those. Like, we haven't had a review on Apple in like quite some time. So if you haven't like given us some
people
stars,
are listening on TikTok or watching on TikTok.
They're watching on TikTok, but they're also listening on the Apple Podcast app or
well,
Spotify.
Well, hit it. Hit
I know.
Those
Let's go.
5 stars. Let's go. Whatever.
Or give us a 1-star if you hate us. I don't know why
Yeah.
you're still listening if you hate us, but at least tell us why. You know. So hook us up with some reviews, because we're trying to make a difference. You thought I was going to say money. We're trying to make a difference.
We're trying to make a dime.
We made about 4 of those, but I haven't seen them yet.
Right.
Yeah. So please hook us up with a review.
Yeah, even if they're negative, I think those are kind of fun too.
Yeah, YouTube's really good at those. Those are always fascinating.
When you watch YouTube videos, do you go to the comments right away?
Just at random videos? No, do you?
Sometimes.
Just try to see what's going on there?
Yeah. I like to hear people talk or watch people talk.
There were some people that gave us some negative comments on that Gregorian chant thing.
Oh.
Which, if you're a Gregorian chant person, like, you go. I'm not here to say that that's wrong
with you if you are, but you know.
If you when you get in the car after a long day of work and you just put on that's if that's your thing, you jive, man. Yeah, I definitely got to be in that class. Okay. You got anything else?
Nope. I'm really hungry.
What do you got? Did you pack?
No. Did you pack?
Yeah. Burrito bowl.
Okay.
With ground chicken, not ground beef.
Oh, I do have left. I still have food in the kitchen. Okay.
Yeah, you do. Oh, yeah, you got food. You're good. You're good. Okay. Yeah, hook us up on Apple or Spotify. Give us some reviews. Give us some ratings. You're great at the TikTok, YouTube, Instagram thing. We love you. Good job. But Chops Nation, we need you, because the best podcasts
have the best listeners. Is that right? Yeah, we do.
I think so. Yeah, no, they do. They do. Okay. We do. Yeah, so we got parent preview tonight. Parents are coming out to the football field, watching the kids march half the show.
Yep.
They're in their cute little Cedar Point uniform, blue shirt, black shorts, black shoes. Oh, whatever shoes.
Athletic shoes, yeah.
Athletic shoes and socks.
Yeah, should be fun.
It's a good time.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it?
I think
if you like what you hear, make sure you follow us on Instagram, TikTok,
and YouTube. And Spotify. And Apple.
Okay.
Apple Podcast.
For Steve Peterson.
And Jack Hinkle.
We're out of here.
See ya.
Bye.